Mexico against Mexico. So it's a big fight, for the country. Munguia's going to go in there. He's going to try to bang it out. He's the younger guy. I don't know if he's ready for this type of animal, but he's been calling him out. So I give him props for that, wanting the big fight. What do you make on Canelo's movement though? Because obviously it looks like he wants no part of Benavidez. Like he'll say he doesn't want to fight Benavidez or he doesn't need anything to prove, and then he says if he gets $150 to $200 million, he'll fight him. Right. What's going on with that, man? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, Canelo is already set in stone a Hall of Famer. He's going to be into the Hall of Fame. He's had a long career, started at the age of 15 as a professional over in Mexico, drew that following, came to the United States. He was on cards like Mayweather, Cotto, and he developed. He fought guys like Sugar Shane Mosley, a lot of good fights. Miguel Cotto, he fought Gennady Golovkin, Triple G, a lot of good fighters he's been in the ring with, and he's built his resume up, and he deserves to pick and choose who he wants to fight. I'm not a huge Canelo fan. I like him. He's not my favorite fighter. I don't hold him as high regards as other people do, but he's an excellent fighter. He's a good fighter. He's proven himself time and time again. Of course, he's ducking David Benavidez. That's 100%. David Benavidez deserves that shot more than anyone else out there. Nobody deserves a shot more than David Benavidez. He's the number one 168-pound super middleweight in the world. He's a two-time world champion in there. He's an interim world champion. He deserves that shot. And for some reason, Canelo Alvarez, he's looking at a younger man that's bigger than him, that weighs 25 pounds. He let it be known that he weighs 25 pounds heavier than him. He throws a high volume of punches. This guy is a machine. He is truly a monster. And Canelo Alvarez, he's trying to wait him out to see how much money he could get, by throwing numbers out there that are so outlandish and crazy.
Does this fight happen?
I'm hoping it doesn't. Right now, Canelo is putting the pressure on PBC and other people that are players in the game to produce the money to make this fight happen, because everyone wants to see this fight. You know what I mean? And, it's kind of like a blueprint of what Floyd did with Pacquiao. I know there's a lot of fault on both sides, Pacquiao and Floyd, why that fight took place six years later. But it took so long that people were starving for that fight. It was such a big fight, and look how big it winded up being. It wasn't a great fight at all, but a lot of people, spend that money. I think it was like $100 for the pay-per-view in order to see it and everything like that. I mean, it made tremendous amount of money. So, Canelo is a smart dude. He's waiting it out. He got guys like the Zone jumping in. He got guys like PBC jumping in. And if he could get Saudi Arabia to jump in, he might see close to $100 million for a fight, for sure.
Wow. Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, the way he moves right now, from a business perspective, kind of reminds you of Floyd. But I guess at the end of the day, when your boxing's biggest cash cow, you can move and make those decisions, right? I'll put you on a spot real quick. Is Canelo the greatest Mexican fighter ever?
It's hard, man. It's hard. Like I say, my favorite Mexican fighter is Juan Manuel Marquez. The man is a warrior, but you got to give Canelo his props. I think he surpassed Julio Cesar Chavez, because Chavez is considered the greatest Mexican fighter of all time, but those 89 fights that he had before losing, a lot of them were cab drivers. He had some good fighters in between that were really good fights, the Mildred Taylors and Pernell Whitaker and all of those guys. But Canelo, being a 4-division weight champion, an undisputed champion, this guy could be possibly the greatest Mexican fighter. He might have surpassed them.
I hear that, and that's hard for me to hear because I'm a big Julio Cesar Chavez fan. I mean, growing up. What do you see happening in that fight between Munguia?
I think Canelo beats him. He probably stops him, if not by decision, but he wins that fight. Munguia is working with Freddie Roach, so we saw an improvement from when he was working with Eric Morales. He didn't look that great against Derenchenko. I mean, it was a great fight. It was a fight of the year type candidate fight. But I think Freddie Roach has added something to his game. And that's going to be interesting to see on fight night. You know, what type of game plan do they have? Does he become much better? Is Canelo really declining? And can he seize the moment? Because he's been waiting for this fight ever since he moved up to 160 pounds. When he was a middleweight, he was chasing Triple G and Canelo for a big fight opportunity when a lot of people really didn't know who he was. And, you know, he avoided Demetrius Andre, who was the champion in that weight class, and he was the mandatory. He avoided Jamal Charlo, who was the WBC champion, and he was the mandatory for him as well. So he didn't take those dangerous fights, and he gets a lot of slack because of he didn't take those fights, and he just waited for the big payday against Triple G and Canelo. But now, fast forward, you know, the guy got 40-something fights in. You know, he's grown, he's older, he's more mature, more experienced. Now he has a great trainer in his camp. He's coming off a great performance against John Ryder. This might be the right time, while Canelo's getting old, that he might shock a lot of people on fight night. But I feel that Canelo Alvarez is going to win that fight, possibly late round stoppage or decision.